And what a story we could talk about. The Spanish football president, Luis Rubiales.
Yeah, this is weird.
This man is very bizarre.
It's weird. It's also really violent. I watched that and I found it a really violent act.
So just explain why it's violent.
So because he holds the back of her head as he kisses her. So if she didn't consent, which of course she didn't, she had no way of even come out of it. So it's actually violence to achieve something.
So the fact is, he grabbed her by the back of the head, planted a full-on kiss on her lips, and then later grabbed his own crotch.
Oh,
and who was there?
He grabbed his own crotch and started doing a sort of Michael Jackson-esque celebration when in front of the Queen of Spain and the Princess of Spain.
I'm sure they were thrilled.
Could you
Too much
imagine?
alcohol had been imbibed.
Maybe.
Oh, very true, yeah.
And so I was reporting this story during the week. How's it moved on?
Well, effectively, yesterday he said he will not resign, and in a very bizarre speech. I don't think he will. This man is he's seen so.
I don't think he'll have any choice. But anyway, carry on.
What was very odd is that he was in a meeting with a lot of other sort of officials, high-ranking officials in Spanish football, and as he was saying, "I will not resign, I will not resign," he was getting a rousing round of applause from people in the room. Very, very bizarre.
This is real toxic masculinity, isn't it?
It is, and also it's completely overshadowed the Women's World Cup. And it was a brilliant tournament, a great final, and this idiot...
But aren't the women sort of saying, right, they're not going to play now?
Yeah, 81 women players have said we're not going to be picked for selection. And how sad is that? Because they've just won the World Cup. This is meant to be the most joyous period of their careers, and now they're not going to be playing for their national team because of this.
So do you want to bet whether he stays in place?
I'm going to give him 2 more weeks.
I'm giving him till tomorrow.
Are you really? Well, I don't know. Maybe, you know...
He tried to suggest that it was a consensual kiss.
Yes, which has been completely
Doesn't look
denied.
very consensual.
The Spanish captain, Jenni Hermoso, she actually released a statement yesterday saying it was not consensual.
Of course
you can tell it wasn't consensual because she had no time to consent.
Also you don't have to hold the back of somebody's head if it's consensual because they do it willingly.
Yes, indeed.
It's like it's unprofessional. I mean, it's still on a it's a workplace environment as well on the football pitch. You know,
and has there been any response from the Lionesses at all?
Yeah, the Lionesses have come out and said that the Spanish Football Federation is sexist, and they've completely condemned it.
But aren't there links with the Spanish Football Federation between all of the key players? I think that there's something...
They're not happy. They weren't happy at the coach. The coach's routines were all a little bit odd in terms of very strict rules about what time they should go to bed, checking that they're in bed.
Are you kidding?
No, this is not, you know, back in the 70s and the 80s when Alex Ferguson would go and bang on the hotel room of his players' doors to make sure that they weren't out late at night. Fair enough, but not when it's a male football coach.
With women.
With women, it's incredibly uncomfortable.
I think we have to set this into a Spanish kind of context as well, that there's still been some very high-profile cases within the last few years in Spain of rapes that have been gang rapes and really nasty events where they've been drugging young girls, taking them places where they've been on film and they've been getting off in court. And there has been outrage, and there's a big movement in Spain to stop this culture where women are so devalued. But I don't think they're quite there yet. So
and what about the role of the Spanish government? Because clearly they must have a say in this.
Well, eventually it looks like they will get involved, especially if more and more players come out and say that they're not going to play. But at the moment, the Spanish government is sitting back and saying it's a football issue, but it's not anymore.
No,
this is bigger than a football issue.
Is much bigger.
It's just unbelievable, the fact that he thinks it's okay, you know. Imagine if, you know, you forced a big kiss for a successful show that you've had. It's just not on in the workplace.
I can't even imagine.
I was just looking at Renault.
I can't even imagine anyone, nobody in my life has tried or has put their hand behind my head to force a kiss on the mouth, ever. And I would find that extremely
It's effectively
offensive.
Prince William, who's the an ambassador for the FA, a director for the FA. It's like him going up and doing exactly the same to Millie Bright or Serena.
Completely unacceptable.
Never
Of course not. Let's move on. A week to forget for Man United. Why?
Yes, well, because of Mason Greenwood. So they were going to try and keep hold of the striker after charges of attempted rape were dropped against him. They had an internal investigation, and reports were that they were going to bring him back into the fold. That got a huge backlash from supporters, women supporters, charities, and then they've decided to change their mind and said, yeah, we'll let him go. But it's amazing. You know, the investigation didn't involve the CEO of Manchester United speaking to any women's charities, any of the female players from Manchester United's women's team, and they've just been made to look very
whilst I understand all
unprofessional.
of that, I'm going to probably say something that you wouldn't expect, but, this man has not been found guilty in a court of law.
No,
and
but
I do worry.
the sad thing is, though, the audio is harrowing, and it's out there to hear, and it's bringing the club into disrepute. This is Man United, the biggest club in the world. You can't be having that.
I do worry, though, about men who are found guilty before they're found guilty and their lives being destroyed.
Of course.
So I worry about
and
the
he's a
bigger
very young
picture
man
here.
who can learn but he's surplus to requirements. No team in England are going to take him because of the backlash that they'll get. And at the moment, the only interest for him is coming from Albania, which isn't really the best place to go play football, because I didn't even know they played football in Albania.